The champagne glass slipped from Alice Stone's trembling fingers, shattering against the marble floor of the penthouse. She'd called home for 3 years, but the sound was drowned out by something far more devastating. Her husband's laughter, echoing from the bedroom down the hall. His laughter with someone else, 26 years old. And Alice's world was ending on what should have been their 3rd wedding anniversary. She'd come home early from the hospital where she worked as a pediatric nurse, eager to surprise Lawrence with the dinner, reservations she'd saved for months to afford. Her salary was modest, barely enough to maintain appearances in his world of wealth and excess. But she'd wanted to do something special, something that showed him she still tried, even when he'd grown cold and distant over the past year. Now she understood why. Lawrence, baby, when are you going to tell her? The voice was sultry, confident, familiar. Alice's blood turned to ice as recognition hit her. Vanessa Chun, Lawrence's business associate. The woman who'd been at every charity gala, every corporate dinner, every moment of their life together for the past 18 months. Alice's bare feet carried her down the hallway as if moving through molasses. Each step felt like walking toward her own execution. The bedroom door stood ajar, and through the gap, she could see them Lawrence's athletic frame, tangled in silk sheets that she'd picked out. His dark hair tousled as Vanessa traced patterns across his bare chest. Soon, Lawrence said, his voice lazy with satisfaction, "The prenup is airtight. She gets nothing. Once the divorce is final, we can move forward with the merger. Your father's company combined with Chun Industries will make us unstoppable." Vanessa laughed, the sound like breaking glass. "I can't believe she never suspected. Poor little nurse, thinking she married you for love." "Please." Lawrence's tone dripped with contempt. She was a novelty, fresh-faced, innocent, nothing like the sharks in our circle. My mother hated her, which made it even better. But 3 years is long enough for this little rebellion. It's time to get serious. Alice's hand flew to her mouth, stifling the sob that threatened to escape. 3 years. 3 years of loving a man who'd seen her as nothing more than a rebellion against his family. 3 years of enduring his mother's cutting remarks, his friends' barely concealed sneers, the constant reminders that she didn't belong in their world of private jets and summer homes in the Hamptons. She'd met Lawrence at a hospital fundraiser where she'd been volunteering. He'd been there representing his family's pharmaceutical empire, looking bored until their eyes met across the crowded ballroom. The attraction had been instant, overwhelming. He'd pursued her relentlessly, charming and attentive, making her believe in fairy tales despite every reasonable part of her brain, screaming that billionaires didn't fall for ordinary girls from Fenkings. The wedding had been a nightmare. His mother, Patricia Blackwood, had made it clear Alice was beneath them. The prenup had been humiliating. She'd signed away any claim to Lawrence's fortune, but love had made her stupid. She'd believed his promises that it was just a formality, that they'd build a life together based on partnership, not money. What a fool she'd been. "Did you see the necklace I gave her for our anniversary?" Lawrence continued. "Cubic zirconia from that cheap jewelry store in Midtown." She cried, thinking they were real diamonds. God, it was pathetic. The necklace hung around Alice's neck now, cold against her skin. She'd worn it proudly to work, showing it off to her colleagues, believing her husband had spent a fortune on her. The humiliation burned through her like acid. "You're terrible," Vanessa purred, but her tone was admiring. "When should we tell her?" "Tonight, actually. I was going to do it over dinner, but this is better, more efficient." Alice didn't wait to hear more. She turned and ran, her vision blurred by tears, her heart hammering against her ribs. She made it to the guest bathroom before the sobs overtook her, great heaving gasps that left her doubled over the toilet, retching up the breakfast she'd barely been able to eat that morning. When she finally lifted her head, she caught sight of herself in the mirror. Her reflection was a stranger pale, broken, pathetic. Her dark hair hung limp around her face, and her brown eyes were already swollen from crying. The woman staring back at her was everything Lawrence had said. Poor, ordinary, beneath him. No. Alice gripped the edge of the sink, forcing herself to breathe. She wouldn't let him see her cry. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of her pain. With shaking hands, she removed the fake necklace and dropped it in the trash. Then she walked to the bedroom. She'd been relegated to 6 months ago. Lawrence had claimed he needed his own space for early morning conference calls and pulled out her battered suitcase. She didn't own much. Most of the expensive clothes in the closet belonged to the life Lawrence had wanted her to play, not the person she actually was. She packed her nursing scrubs, her few personal photographs, the worn copy of her mother's recipe book. Everything that mattered fit in one bag. Leaving so soon, Alice spun around. Lawrence stood in the doorway, wearing nothing but silk pajama bottoms, his expression mocking. He was handsome objectively, devastatingly so, with sharp features, ice blue eyes, and the kind of confidence that came from never being told no once. That confidence had made her feel safe. Now it made her sick. "I heard everything," she said, proud that her voice didn't shake. "Good. Saves me the trouble of explaining." He leaned against the doorframe, completely unbothered by her pain. "The divorce papers will be delivered tomorrow. Sign them, and we can both move on with our lives. You used me. Don't be dramatic. We had fun for a while. Now it's over." He examined his nails, bored. "The prenup is clear. You leave with what you came with, nothing. The apartment is mine. The car is mine. Everything is mine. You should thank me. Really. 3 years with me elevated you beyond anything you could have achieved on your own." Alice wanted to scream, to rage, to make him feel even a fraction of the pain tearing through her chest. But she wouldn't. She refused to give him that power over her. "I loved you," she said quietly. For just a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Guilt, regret, but it was gone so fast she might have imagined it. Love doesn't pay the bills. Alice, grow up. She grabbed her suitcase and walked past him, her head held high despite the tears streaming down her face. She didn't look back as she left the penthouse, didn't acknowledge Vanessa's smug smile as she passed the bedroom, didn't let herself break until she was in the elevator, descending from the clouds back to earth. By the time she reached the street, rain had started to fall. Of course it had. The universe had a cruel sense of humor. Alice stood on the sidewalk, her suitcase at her feet, with nowhere to go and no one to call. Her parents were dead. Her friends had drifted away during her marriage, unable to relate to the life she'd been living. She was alone, completely, utterly alone. Her phone buzzed, a text from her bank. Account overdrawn. She'd spent her last $100 on those anniversary dinner reservations. Alice laughed, the sound bitter and hollow. This was rock bottom. She pulled out her phone and called the one person who might still answer. Her old supervisor from nursing school, Dr. Sarah Chun, who'd always told her to reach out if she ever needed anything. Alice, Sarah's voice was warm, concerned. Is everything okay? No, Alice whispered. Nothing's okay. I need help. 3 months later, Alice barely recognized herself. Gone was the mousy, apologetic woman who'd apologized for taking up space. In her place stood someone stronger, sharper, forged in the fire of humiliation and betrayal. She'd spent those first weeks, after the divorce, in Sarah's spare bedroom, crying herself to sleep and wondering if the pain would ever stop. But somewhere around week 4, the tears dried up, replaced by something far more powerful. Rage. Rage at Lawrence for using her. Rage at herself for being so blind. Rage at a system that protected men like him while women like her got nothing. The divorce had been finalized quickly. Lawrence's lawyers were efficient, ruthless. She'd signed the papers with a steady hand, taking nothing but her clothes and her dignity. Let him keep his penthouse and his sports cars and his empty life. She didn't want any of it. What she wanted was revenge, but not the hot, impulsive kind. Alice had learned patience during her marriage, had learned to smile through cutting remarks and navigate social warfare. She would use those skills now. But for herself, Sarah had helped her get a job at New York Presbyterian, one of the city's most prestigious hospitals. The pay was better, the work more challenging. Alice threw herself into it, taking every extra shift, volunteering for the hardest cases. She was good at her job, better than good. Within 2 months, she'd been promoted to senior pediatric nurse, a position that came with respect and a salary that finally felt like enough. She'd moved into a tiny studio in Brooklyn, barely bigger than Lawrence's closet, but it was hers. Every piece of furniture, every dish, every book hers. She'd never felt richer. Tonight, she was attending a hospital fundraising gala. Normally, she avoided these events, too reminiscent of the life she'd left behind. But Sarah had insisted, claiming Alice needed to network, to build connections that could help her career. Alice studied herself in the mirror, adjusting the simple black dress she'd bought from a consignment shop. It wasn't designer, but it fit well, highlighting the weight she'd lost through stress and the muscle she'd gained from running her anger out every morning. Her hair was pulled back in an elegant twist, and she'd applied just enough makeup to look polished without trying too hard. She looked good. More importantly, she looked strong. The gala was held at the plaza, all glittering chandeliers and champagne fountains. Alice accepted a glass of sparkling water from a passing waiter and tried not to feel overwhelmed by the opulence. This wasn't her world anymore. She didn't have to impress anyone. You look lost. The voice was deep, slightly amused. Alice turned and found herself face to face with the most striking man she'd ever seen. He was tall, with dark skin, warm brown eyes, and a smile that seemed genuinely interested rather than predatory. He wore his tuxedo like he'd been born in one. But there was uneasiness to him that Lawrence had always lacked. "Just taking it all in," she said, returning his smile. "It's been a while since I've attended one of these things. Let me guess you're here for the hospital." At her nod, he extended his hand. "Dante Morrison, I'm on the board." Alice shook his hand, trying to ignore the electric current that seemed to pass between them. Alice Stone, pediatric nurse. Something shifted in his expression. Respect, interest, something she couldn't quite name. A nurse. That's real work. Important work. Unlike this. She gestured to the ballroom. The wealthy donors writing checks more for the tax deduction than any real concern for health care. Dante laughed, a rich sound that made her stomach flutter. "You're honest. I like that. Most people at these things spend the whole night blowing smoke." They fell into easy conversation, Dante asking intelligent questions about her work, seeming genuinely interested in the challenges of pediatric care. He didn't name drop or humble brag about his wealth. In fact, it took 20 minutes before Alice even realized who he was. Dante Morrison, as in Morrison Medical Technologies, as in the billionaire whose innovations in medical equipment had revolutionized hospital care worldwide, as in one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the country at just 29. When she finally made the connection, her eyes widened. "You're still just a guy at a boring party, wishing he was anywhere else." Dante interrupted smoothly. "Unless the fact that I have money is going to change how you talk to me. Should it?" Alice challenged. "I really hope not." His eyes held hers, and something passed between them, an understanding, a connection. "You want to get out of here? I know a great taco truck that's probably still open." Alice should have said no. Should have been cautious, smart, protected her still healing heart. But something about Dante felt different. Safe, maybe, or maybe she was just tired of being afraid. "I'd like that," she said. They slipped out of the gala like truant teenagers, Dante loosening his bow tie as they hit the street. He led her to a food truck in Hell's Kitchen, where he ordered in perfect Spanish and insisted she try the al pasta. They sat on a bench in a tiny park, eating tacos and talking about everything and nothing. "So, what's your story?" Dante asked, wiping salsa from his chin. "And don't say you don't have one. Everyone has one." Alice hesitated. The divorce was still too raw, too painful. But something about the way Dante looked at her really looked like she mattered, made her want to be honest. "I was married," she said finally, "to someone wealthy. Someone who saw me as a temporary amusement rather than a partner. When I found out, I left with nothing. Started over from scratch 3 months ago." Dante was quiet for a moment, processing. That took courage, or stupidity? No. His voice was firm. Courage. A lot of people stay in situations that hurt them because leaving is harder. You chose the hard thing. That's brave. Tears pricked Alice's eyes, but she blinked them back. "I don't feel brave. I feel like I'm barely holding it together." "That's what bravery looks like," Dante said softly. "Not the absence of fear, but moving forward despite it." They talked until the food truck closed, until the city settled into its late-night rhythm. Dante told her about growing up poor in Detroit, about his mother working 3 jobs to keep them afloat, about the scholarship to MIT that changed his life. He spoke about wealth with the perspective of someone who'd lived without it, who understood its power but didn't worship it. Money is a tool, he said. It can build or destroy. Most people in my circles use it to destroy either themselves or others. I'm trying to use it differently. How? Alice asked. By actually caring about the work. Morrison Medical doesn't just make expensive equipment for fancy hospitals. We develop affordable technology for clinics in underserved areas. We fund medical education for students who can't afford it. We try to level the playing field, even just a little. Alice studied him in the streetlight. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone like my ex-husband, self-absorbed, entitled, incapable of seeing beyond his own reflection. Dante smiled, but it was sad. I've met plenty of people like that. Hell, I employ some of them. But I learned early that money doesn't make you better than anyone else. It just gives you more options. What you do with those options defines who you are. When he offered to drive her home, Alice accepted. His car was nice, but not ostentatious a Tesla. Practical and understated. He pulled up outside her building in Brooklyn. A walk-up in a neighborhood that was trying hard to gentrify. This is me, Alice said, suddenly self-conscious about the difference between her tiny studio and whatever mansion he called home. Can I see you again? Dante asked. Maybe for dinner? Somewhere with actual plates instead of paper wrappers? Alice wanted to say yes. God, she wanted to, but fear held her back, fear of being hurt again, of trusting the wrong person, of losing herself in someone else's world. I need to think about it, she said honestly. Dante nodded, understanding in his eyes. Take all the time you need. But Alice? He waited until she met his gaze. Not everyone is your ex-husband. Some of us are trying to be better. She climbed out of the car and watched him drive away, her heart a confused mess of hope and terror. The next morning, Alice woke to find a package outside her door. Inside was a single perfect orchid in a simple pot, and a note in elegant handwriting. Because you deserve real flowers, not empty gestures. No pressure, just appreciation. D. Alice stared at the orchid for a long time, running her fingers over the delicate petals. Lawrence had never given her flowers. He'd given her jewelry she didn't want, cars she didn't need, everything except what she'd actually craved: genuine affection. Dante had given her an orchid and honesty. It felt like more. She called him that evening. Dinner sounds nice. His laugh was warm, relieved. Yeah. But somewhere we can actually talk. No scenes. I know just the place. He took her to a small Italian restaurant in the West Village. The kind of place with checkered tablecloths and a grandmother cooking in the back. They talked for hours about childhood dreams and adult disappointments, about the people they'd been and the people they were becoming. Dante listened more than he talked, asked questions that showed he was actually paying attention, treated the waitress with the same respect he'd shown Alice. It was perfect to perfect. What's wrong? Dante asked, noticing her withdrawal. This is how it started with Lawrence, Alice admitted. The charm, the attention, the feeling like I was special. Then it all went to hell. Dante reached across the table and took her hand. his touch gentle. "I can't promise not to hurt you, Alice. I'm human, which means I'm flawed. But I can promise to try, to be honest with you, to treat you like the incredible woman you are. That's all any of us can do, try." Alice looked into his eyes and saw sincerity there, vulnerability. Dante wasn't playing a game. He was offering something real, something precious. "Okay," she whispered. "Let's try." Over the next 3 months, Dante and Alice built something neither of them had expected. He took her to museums and Broadway shows, but also to street fairs and hole-in-the-wall restaurants. She introduced him to her work, and he spent hours at the hospital, playing with sick children and donating state-of-the-art equipment. Without any fanfare or press releases, they were careful with each other, both carrying scars from their pasts. Dante had been engaged once to a woman who'd loved his money more than him. When his company had hit a rough patch, she'd left. The betrayal had made him wary, protective of his heart. But with Alice, he felt safe enough to be vulnerable. "I love you," he told her one night as they walked through Central Park. "I know it's fast, and I know you're scared, but I love you. The real you, not some version I want you to be." Alice's heart stuttered. She'd sworn never to let herself be this vulnerable again, never to give someone this much power over her happiness. But Dante had proven himself different in 1,000 small ways. The way he remembered her favorite coffee order, the way he asked about her patients, the way he never made her feel small or less than. "I love you too," she said, and meant it. They were happy, genuinely, quietly happy in a way that felt sustainable rather than explosive. Dante never asked her to change, never tried to mold her into someone she wasn't. He supported her career, celebrated her successes, held her through the hard days when pediatric nursing broke her heart. But peace never lasts forever. 6 months into their relationship, Alice was working a late shift when she got a call from an unknown number. "Mrs. Blackwood." The voice was unfamiliar, female, professional. "It's Stone now," Alice corrected coldly. "Who is this?" "My name is Jennifer Walsh. I'm an investigative journalist with the New York Times. I'm working on a story about Lawrence Blackwood and Chun Industries, and I think you might want to hear what I've found." Alice's blood ran cold. "I have nothing to say about my ex-husband. Even if I told you he's been embezzling millions from his company, that the merger with Chun Industries is actually a cover for money laundering, that he and Vanessa Chun are about to be arrested for fraud." Alice sank into a chair in the break room, her mind reeling. "What? It's all going to come out in tomorrow's paper," Jennifer continued. "I'm offering you the chance to comment first, to tell your side of the story." "I don't have a side," Alice said firmly. "I was his wife. I knew nothing about his business dealings. We've been divorced for almost a year, but you might be implicated. The FBI is investigating everyone close to him during the relevant time period. That includes you." Terror gripped Alice's chest. "I didn't do anything wrong. I believe you, but the optics are bad. The nurse who married into wealth, divorced quickly, walked away clean. Some people might think you knew more than you're saying." Alice hung up, her hands shaking. This couldn't be happening. She'd walked away from Lawrence, started over, built a new life. How could his crimes reach forward and destroy her future? She called Dante immediately. "I'm coming to get you," he said before she'd even finished explaining. "Don't talk to anyone until I get there." He arrived within 20 minutes with his lawyer, a sharp woman named Rachel, who took one look at Alice and said, "You're going to be fine. We'll handle this." But as the scandal broke the next day, Alice realized fine was relative. Lawrence and Vanessa were arrested on multiple counts of fraud and embezzlement. The tabloids went wild, dragging everyone connected to the Blackwood family through the mud. Alice's name appeared in every article. Her nursing career reduced to a footnote about the suspicious ex-wife. She was suspended from work pending investigation. The FBI wanted to interview her. Her picture was plastered across gossip sites with speculation about what she'd known and when. "I didn't know anything," she told Dante over and over, as if repetition could make it true enough to believe. "I was just his stupid wife who didn't ask questions." "You weren't stupid," Dante said fiercely, holding her as she cried. "You were trusting. There's a difference." "Is there?" Alice pulled away, anger and fear making her lash out. "Maybe I was stupid. Stupid to marry Lawrence. Stupid to think I could move on. Stupid to fall for another billionaire who's probably going to realize I'm toxic and leave." Dante's expression hardened. "Don't do that. Don't push me away because you're scared." "Why not? It's easier this way. Clean break. No collateral damage. I love you, Alice. I'm not going anywhere." "You say that now," she said bitterly. "But when this gets worse, and it will get worse, you'll realize I'm not worth the trouble. Your company can't afford to be associated with this scandal. Your board will pressure you to distance yourself from me. It's what makes sense." "I don't give a damn what makes sense," Dante said, his voice rising. "I care about you. I'm not leaving." But Alice was too far gone in her panic to hear him. "You should. Save yourself while you can." She walked out of his apartment and didn't answer his calls for 3 days. The FBI investigation cleared Alice within a week. She'd had no knowledge of Lawrence's crimes, no access to his business accounts, no involvement whatsoever. The evidence was clear. She'd been an innocent bystander, another one of Lawrence's victims. But the damage was done. The hospital couldn't reinstate her while the media circus continued. She was radioactive, unemployable, alone. Alice spent her days in her studio apartment, watching the news coverage of Lawrence's trial. He looked smaller somehow, his confidence stripped away by handcuffs and orange jumpsuits. Vanessa had turned on him, testifying against him in exchange for a lighter sentence. The mighty had fallen, and Alice felt nothing but exhaustion. Her phone rang constantly, Dante, calling to check on her. She never answered. She'd meant what she said. He deserved better than the wreckage of her life. Then, 2 weeks after she'd walked away, there was a knock on her door. Alice opened it to find not Dante, but his mother, Grace Morrison. She was elegant in her 60s, with kind eyes and an air of quiet strength. "Mrs. Morrison," Alice stammered, confused. "May I come in?" Alice stepped aside, too shocked to refuse. Grace settled on the worn couch, looking around the small space without judgment. "My son is miserable," Grace said without preamble. "He loves you, and you're breaking his heart." "I'm protecting him," Alice protested. "From what?" From loving someone who's been through hard times. From standing by someone when it's difficult. Grace shook her head. Honey, love isn't about the easy moments. It's about choosing each other even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. You don't understand. The scandal. The media attention it could hurt his company. Morrison Medical has survived worse than tabloid gossip, Grace said firmly. But my son won't survive losing you. Not if you walk away without giving him the choice to stay. He'll regret it eventually. Maybe, maybe not. But that's his decision to make, not yours. Grace reached over and took Alice's hand. I was a single mother in Detroit, working myself to the bone to give Dante opportunities I never had. When he made his first $1 million, people started circling like sharks. I watched him get hurt by people who wanted his money, not his heart. Then he met you, and I saw my son come alive again. Don't take that away from him, from both of you, because you're afraid. Alice's tears finally came, hot and bitter. I don't know how to trust this, how to believe it's real. Trust is a choice you make every day, Grace said gently. Some days it's easy, some days it's terrifying, but you keep choosing it, keep choosing each other, until it becomes second nature. After Grace left, Alice sat in the silence of her apartment, thinking about choices. She'd chosen to marry Lawrence, believing in a fairy tale. She'd chosen to leave him, saving herself. She'd chosen to push Dante away, protecting him from her mess. Maybe it was time to choose differently, to choose love, even when it scared her, to choose trust, even when she'd been betrayed before, to choose Dante, not because he was perfect, but because he was real. She called him Alice. His voice was rough, like he'd been crying. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I was scared, and I hurt you. And I'm sorry. Where are you? Home. I'm on my way. He was there in 15 minutes, pulling her into his arms the moment she opened the door. They held each other, not speaking, just breathing together. I love you, Alice said against his chest. I love you, and I'm terrified. And I don't know how to do this, but I want to try. Dante pulled back just enough to look into her eyes. That's all I need. Just try with me. They kissed, and it felt like coming home. Lawrence Blackwood was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. Vanessa Smith got 8 years for her cooperation. The scandal slowly faded from the headlines, replaced by newer dramas and fresher scandals. Alice was reinstated at the hospital with a formal apology and a promotion. Her reputation recovered as the truth came out she'd been a victim, not a participant. Colleagues who'd avoided her began seeking her out again, apologizing for their assumptions. But the biggest change was internal. Alice had spent so much of her life trying to be small, to not take up space, to make herself acceptable to others. Lawrence had reinforced those tendencies, making her feel like her worth was dependent on his approval. Even after the divorce, she'd carried that damage, believing she was fundamentally less than. Dante helped her see differently, not by telling her she was valuable, but by showing her through his actions. He listened when she talked about her work. He supported her career ambitions without trying to control them. He introduced her to his friends and family as his equal, never his accessory. More importantly, he let her see his own vulnerabilities. He admitted when he was wrong, apologized when he hurt her feelings, asked for her input on major decisions. He treated their relationship as a partnership, not a kingdom he ruled. 1 year after they'd met at the hospital gala, Dante took Alice back to that bench in Hell's Kitchen, where they'd eaten tacos and talked until dawn. "I have something to ask you," he said, taking her hands in his. Alice's heart raced. She knew what was coming, but instead of fear, she felt excitement. "I know you've been hurt before," Dante continued. "I know you have every reason to be cautious about commitment, but I also know what we have is real. It's messy and complicated and sometimes scary, but it's real. So, I'm asking you, will you marry me? Will you build a life with me? As equals, as partners, as two imperfect people trying to be better together?" He pulled out a ring, simple, elegant, chosen with care rather than price in mind. Alice looked at the man kneeling before her. He wasn't perfect. He worked too much sometimes, forgot to eat when he was focused on a project, had a terrible habit of leaving his socks on the floor. But he was kind. He was honest. He saw her as she was and loved her anyway. "Yes," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, I'll marry you." They were married 6 months later in a small ceremony at the hospital, where they'd met, surrounded by the people who mattered most. Grace Morrison cried happy tears. Sarah Smith gave a toast about second chances and new beginnings. The children from Alice's pediatric ward threw flower petals and asked if they could visit the newlyweds' house. Alice wore a simple dress, not the designer gown Lawrence had insisted on. The ceremony was short and heartfelt, not the 3-hour spectacle his mother had orchestrated. There was no prenup, because Dante trusted her and she trusted him. It was perfect, but more than the wedding, it was the life they built afterward that mattered. Dante and Alice bought a brownstone in Brooklyn, close to the hospital where Alice worked. They spent their evenings cooking together, their weekends volunteering at free clinics Dante's company sponsored. They fought sometimes, disagreed about things both trivial and important, but they talked through it. They chose each other every single day. Alice eventually became the head of pediatric nursing at New York Presbyterian, overseeing programs that served underprivileged children. Dante's company continued to grow, but he kept his focus on innovation that helped people, not just profit margins. They had 2 children, a daughter named after Alice's mother and a son named after Dante's. They were loud and messy and perfect, growing up in a home filled with love rather than money. Sometimes, late at night, Alice would think about Lawrence, not with longing or regret, but with a strange sort of gratitude. His betrayal had destroyed her, yes, but it had also freed her. It had forced her to find strength she didn't know she had, to build a life on her own terms, to recognize real love when it appeared. She'd been weak once, broken by a man who saw her as disposable, but she'd put herself back together, stronger and wiser. And when real love came along, complicated, messy, beautiful love, she'd been brave enough to accept it. 5 years after the divorce, Alice received a letter from Lawrence. He'd been released early for good behavior, and he wanted to apologize. "I was wrong," he wrote, "about everything. You deserved better than how I treated you. I see that now. I hope you've found happiness." Alice read the letter once, then filed it away. She bore him no ill will, felt no satisfaction in his downfall. He was simply a chapter in her story, one that had led her to where she was meant to be. That evening, she came home to find Dante cooking dinner while their children did homework at the Kit Smith table. He looked up when she entered, his face breaking into the smile that still made her heart skip. "Good day?" he asked. "The best," she said, kissing him. "Every day with you is the best." And she meant it, because she'd learned the hardest way possible that love wasn't about wealth or status or fairy tales. It was about choosing each other day after day, in the small moments and the hard ones. It was about building something real together, brick by brick, choice by choice. She'd been shattered once, but from those broken pieces, she'd built something diamond hard and brilliant, a life of her own making, with a partner who valued her for exactly who she was. That was worth more than any fortune. That was everything. 10 years later, Alice stood in front of a group of nursing students at NYU, giving a lecture on resilience in healthcare. "You're going to face hard times," she told them. "Times when you question everything: your career choice, your self-worth, your ability to keep going. And I want to tell you that those moments don't define you. How you respond to them does." A young woman in the front row raised her hand. "How did you respond when things got hard?" Alice thought about that question, about the girl she'd been at 23, desperate to believe in love, about the woman she'd become at 26, broken and starting over, about the person she was now at 36, standing in front of these students as the director of nursing at one of the country's top hospitals. "I chose to keep going," she said simply, "even when I wanted to give up, even when it hurt. I chose to trust again, to love again, to believe I deserved good things. Those choices saved my life." After the lecture, Dante was waiting for her outside. Their children older now, but still eager to see their mother. He kissed her cheek and took her hand, and they walked through the city together. A family built on honesty and hard-won trust. "I'm proud of you," Dante said, "for everything you've become." Alice squeezed his hand. "I'm proud of us for everything we've built." Because that was the real story, not the betrayal or the scandal or the dramatic rescue. It was to broken people choosing to heal together, to trust together, to build a life that honored both their scars and their dreams. It was messy and imperfect and absolutely real. It was love. If you enjoyed the story, don't hesitate to like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment. From yours truly, bye.